All right, and welcome back to the channel. Just going to do a little video on this, on thermostats, and can you run without a thermostat, and what's the effects going to be of doing that. I've seen guys that have videos out that show, an engine idling and running without the thermostat. And of course, you're going to get a completely different result as when you drive the car, because the higher RPMs on the engine affect the cooling system and the load when you're going down the road. So you're gonna have to go by someone who's got experience with this. I was an ASE master auto technician in the 80s and early 90s, and this is what thermostats do. And then I'll give you some solutions if you're on the side of the road, you need to fix your car temporarily, or maybe you don't have the money to fix it, but it's something that's only temporary. So what the thermostat does is, as your engine reaches the temperature that's on the thermostat, there's a little reading on here. I think this is a 190 thermostat. Most engines run at about 185, 180 to 190, depending on the year of the car. This is like a 190 thermostat or 195. What it does is, when the temperature of the coolant in the engine reaches 195, it will open up this little valve right here. It's spring loaded. I can't really push on it hard enough, but it opens up this little valve right here, and then allows coolant to go in the engine. And then once the coolant is not at 190 degrees again, it will shut this valve. So this is constantly opening and shutting all the time. As your engine's running, it's opening and shutting. And the reason that that's important, that it shuts, some people take their thermostats out and they think that it's going to run cooler with that. It will in the morning. So when you first start it in the morning, your engine temperature is going to be really, really low. But if you get on the road and you start driving a long distance, what's going to happen is it's going to make your engine run too hot. So both things happen. So when your engine's running too cold, it's not good for the lubrication of the engine. So if your engine's running too cold for a long period of time, and with a water-cooled engine or coolant-cooled engine, it runs too cool for a long period of time, and that's really not good for the engine longevity. And then what happens is, if you take out your thermostat, or you can actually break it right here and right here, and then take the spring out, and then take the little valve out. Okay, if you do that, either one, I mean, it's a little bit better if you just break the thing out if you're going to do it. But what will happen is the coolant will travel through the engine. When you're at idle, it really won't make much difference. Okay, it'll run too cold. Okay, but when you're driving down the road, what happens is the water and coolant starts to travel through the engine and through the radiator too fast. And what happens is the coolant needs to stop while it's in the radiator, so that the fans can cool the coolant down. And when you get driving down the road, you'll be going down the road, and it'll start circulating through the engine and through the radiator too fast, and eventually it'll make your engine run hot. So both things will happen when you don't have your thermostat in there. In the morning, it'll run way too cold, and you're going down the road on a long trip, especially on the freeway with higher RPMs, it's going to run too hot. So it's not a good idea to run without a thermostat for any long period of time. Well, let's say you're on the side of the road and your thermostat got stuck. Okay, as a temporary solution, what you can do is break right here where my thumb is, break the thermostat right there, and break it right here. Take the spring out and take this portion of it out, this valve portion out. And what that will do is it will restrict the flow enough to where the engine won't run as hot. It'll still not run properly. It'll still cause extra wear to your engine. But if you take that little valve out in the middle, it's a good little temporary solution. Like if, let's say you went into a 1-horse town somewhere, and you were out in the middle of nowhere, and they said, "Oh, well, I got a thermostat, $80." You know, it's like, what? You know, well, I got it if you want it. You know, so you want to get out of that town, you want to go to another town, so you could just take this portion out, the little valve out of there, and put this back in the car, and it will restrict the flow enough to where it won't overheat as quickly. Now, will it still overheat? It's very possible it may, but it won't run nearly as hot as it does if you have no thermostat altogether and just water flowing right through like this. So if it's just wide open like that, it's going through the radiator way too fast, and the fans aren't going to have a chance to really cool that as it goes through there. This will help a little bit if you do it this way, but it is, again, a temporary solution. So anyway, a little bit about thermostats there. Thought that might help you if you're on the side of the road or you don't know much about them. You know, you need to have a thermostat. People think you can do it without it. It's really not a good idea. It's bad on the engine. The engine running at the optimum temperature helps to keep the oil at its proper temperature so that it actually does a good job of lubricating the engine. And when the thermostat's not there, it's either running too hot or too cold, and it just doesn't do the job. So anyway, not good for the life of the engine. I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. See your comments. Talk to you in the next one.